stands for?
Create, retrieve, update, and delete.
Yes, create, retrieve, update, and delete. So in a real time, whenever you are working on an application or a web browser, I mean web application or a mobile application, you will be in need of creating an account before you start working on it. Then you will be updating in case of any need, or you will delete the account if you are not going to use out. In case if you are in need of getting the account details, you'll do a retrieve operation. So how will that be technically implemented is what we are going to see it for the day. And secondly, in our previous session, we have created a Maven project. What is Maven project? I told you this. Language. And similarly, we created a Maven project. What is that? Maven is what?
It is the management.
Yes, it's going to be a development management tool. Okay, so here we are also going to create a Maven type project, but not by directly creating a Maven, instead internally. So whenever you are want to, or you are in need of, then it is recommended for you to create the Spring Starter projects. So file, new, and you'll have an option of Spring Starter project. Please do go for that. What is the advantage of this Spring Starter project? Again, I'm asking you a question related to previous session. People who remember, let me know. When I created a Maven project, what all folders were created into it? What all folders were created?
It had SRC library, JRE libraries, and also .xml kind of thing.
Okay, you had your SRC folder, then the library folders, and an XML folder. Okay, what is the difference to your Java and your Spring Maven project?
It has only source and JRE libraries in Java.
Okay, I could see some answers in the chat even. So the answers from that, what I can understand is in Java, we'll be having only the SRC and the JRE library files. And in your Maven project, you do have your SRC categorized into two types, saying main and test. Main is nothing but the package or the folder in which we create the project, and test is used for the testing purpose. Okay. So now the next thing is, what is the difference to your Spring Boot to your Maven project, if you ask me? So I'll first create it, then you have a look and tell me. I'll create the project saying B73 product module. Why am I naming the project name as B73 product module? Implementation. And I have taken one of the module, which is product module, for the live demonstration. That is why I'm naming my project as product module. Okay. So similarly, whichever module you are receiving, please do name accordingly. And since I have multiple product modules in my workspace, to differentiate, I've given my batch number. That's it. So this is my project name, followed with what type of project it is, a management, a Maven project. And what language are we going to use? A Java language. And what version? The 11th version. And what type of packaging? It is jar. In your previous session, we were manually adding the dependencies into the particular project. But the advantage of your Spring Boot project is, a Spring Starter project is, it will automatically fetch the required dependencies from the internet and add it into the project. Okay. So what is the most important thing is, when you wanted your application to do that, when you wanted your Spring Tool suite to do that, you should make sure that your laptop is provided with a good internet strength. Because when you want to work with your Spring Tool suite, you want it active internet connection. Only then it fetches from the internet and it automatically adds it into your project. So here, that is the next thing is group is nothing but your package name. I have given com.cg.product module, and you are also recommended to give com.cg. Your respective module, and followed with artifact ID is same as your name of your project, and package is nothing but same as your group, and description is sprint 1 project. And I'll give next. Next, what all dependencies you should add is you should add a JDBC API. See here, the heading itself says frequently used. Since I'm using it for a longer period of time, I get suggestions in the frequently used. But for you, it will be a blank one. What should you do? You should write JDBC API in the search bar of available so that you'll be getting the suggestions and then select it. So here you have to enable JDBC API, MySQL driver, REST repository, Spring Data JPA, and Spring Web. I want every one of you to make note of all the dependencies to be added into your project and raise up your hand. I could see only 8 of you have raised up your hand. What about others? Okay, so once you have enabled all this required dependency, please do give a finish, and it will hardly take some time for your project creation and for the dependencies to be built in your project. So please do not disturb your project, and please do not disturb your internet connection also. So now let me give finish, and it will take some time. So the sooner I give finish, could you see import getting started at the bottom of your particular screen, which is loading, correct? So please do wait until then. Sheikh Mohammed, link of which recording?
Today's and yesterday's class, Mom, regarding that Spring tools.
So today's recording, it's a project implementation where I'm not going to tell about the application installation. Maybe you can share your screen at the end. I'll guide you.
Ma'am, like I don't have sufficient amount of data, so by tomorrow I'll install it and keep. If any
Okay,
errors,
fine.
I'll
So
share it.
anyways, I'll be giving a demo for others. Please do listen to that so you'll understand. It hardly takes a minute or two of time. So
Okay,
now,
ma'am.
yeah. So now your project is being created. What did we name? We named it to be B73 product model. So here it is created. Now, if you see in our previous session, we created a Maven project where we did not get this boot representation. But now we have got this boot representation because it is a Spring Boot featured added project. So now if you expand your project, again you'll have your SRC folder where you'll have main Java, main resources, test Java, and test resources. Yes, I did not have a good internet strength. You should have test resources over here. So I'll give you a sample. See here, you'll have test resources like this. It's not properly created. Even mine, there was an issue. So maybe we will create one more time so that we'll have a look. I want to create a Spring Starter project. I'll say B66 product module, and I'll enable all the dependencies and we'll give a finish. Let it get created. Okay, let us check now. B66 product module. Again, I'm not getting it. So what am I going to do is I'm going to use the already available project created. Maybe I'll go for B70 product module. Let me delete everything over there so that, or else I'll make a copy and I'll rename. I will copy this and I'll paste and I'll say this to be B66 73 product model. Let it get copied. Yes, it is done. Yeah, here it is. Now, since I made a copy, I'll delete which all we should create. I'm going to delete that so that I'll give a live demonstration which you can do it purely because of my internet deviation. That's it. So whenever you create a Springboard project, this is how your project will be looking. Even your resources was not added, right? I guess. Okay, is there anyone could share the screen? I'll give you a demo. Who have STS? Any volunteers? Because this is the base for everything. No one is ready to share the screen? Yes, Raksha.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I've just installed it. I haven't done anything.
You have installed it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you share the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Rakshit. So
Yes,
now,
yes.
yeah, you can go to File,
Yes, ma'am.
New, Spring Starter Project. Third one. Yeah. Give product module as the project name. Yeah, that one. Erase it and give product module. Okay, so whenever you give the project name, it will be automatically reflected in your artifact also. Next, type you select Maven. Yes, next it is Java and version 11. Yes, okay. Fine. Next, give the group name as com dot. That is nothing but your package name. Okay, com dot cg dot product module. Like every one of you should give accordingly whatever your module is. Okay, without a space. Do you have underscore between of product module?
So, yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, please remove that. Whatever naming convention we have learned in Java, the same thing you have to follow here.
Yeah.
Remove the underscore between the product and module. Okay, done. So next in the description, give sprint one project. Erase it. Sprint, S-P-R-I-N-T. I-N-T, one project. And give your package as same as your group. Yeah, go to next. Yeah, in that type JDBC API. and select the JDBC API one. Next is MySQL driver, first one, yeah. Erase that and type MySQL driver. Yes, the next one was REST repository. Next was Spring Data JPA. Yes. And finally, Spring Web. Okay, good. Select that. Now give next. Finish. Either you can give directly finish or next finish. Nothing is going to change here. Nothing is going to be a problem. So let the project be created. Hold on. Yeah, it takes some times. No
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. No, nothing is done.
Yeah, so Rakshit, can you expand your project, whichever is created?
Which one? This one?
Yeah, that one. Yes. So now here you'll be able to see SRC folder. Expand that. Come down SRC. Yeah. So inside SRC you have expanded.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will have two folders, which is main and test, and respectively for that you will be having SRC main Java and SRC main resources. Okay. Next, at the top, the first two. Okay, SRC main Java and SRC main resources, and accordingly you're having SRC test Java. So what is the need of it in general as a developer? Every one of us has to test your project in a unit level, and it has been automatically updated over here. Next, you have the library file and the Maven dependency. In our previous session, what did we do? We created or we downloaded the dependency and added into our project. But this time, it is going to be automatically added just because of our selection. Okay, now followed with you'll have your pom.xml. Can you open pom.xml? Bottom. Sorry. Open it. So in our yesterday session, we were manually adding the inputs into your pom.xml, but this time see, scroll down, everything has been automatically added. Is that clear for everyone? So this is how you have to create a Spring Starter project. Yes, no?
This one.
Okay, great. Rakshit, you can please stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
I am resharing my screen. Okay, so now here what happened is, like we had this B66 and 73 product module being created. So into which add on what is the biggest advantages inside your SRC main Java, the package will be automatically created. You need not create your package. Followed with the public static void main class is also automatically created. This is a very biggest advantage which we have. We need not spend our time creating the package or creating the main class. Now followed with this, you will be creating respective classes, which is your entity class, followed with what is entity class? It is the class where you give the variables to be created. Now tell me, when I say I'm creating a student class, what all input should I receive it from the student?
Name, register
Name,
number.
registration number, then okay, in that case, name, registration number or the entities. The class which has the entities are called as entity class. So I'm going to give an explanation on the product module. So I will be giving the class name as product. Okay, so let me close this. Next, I will be creating one more class, which is my controller class. The class which has the control to my operation. So it is product controller. I will name as product, and since it is my controller class, it is product controller. Next is my service class. I'm going to do the required service of my client in this particular class. So I'll say it is product service. And finally, I will also create one interface, which is nothing but product repository. Okay, so now we are going to work in this 5 or 4 different classes only. So in that case, whenever you are looking for a product, tell me which all entities I can create. When you wanted a product information, what all you'll have a look. Product information, what all you'll have a look. Let it be any product. Let's imagine you are buying a dress. What is the first thing you look when you wanted to purchase it? Price. Okay. So let me
Price.
create one variable saying price. Okay. Next.
Size.
Okay. I want the first most important things whenever you are doing a purchase. Nowadays, I have seen many of us have the habit of looking for the brand name and the ID so that we can look for other websites, everything, correct? Not only with respect to the dress I am telling you, in generally product, you have to think and let me know. So I would like to give an ID for my product because whatever entity you are creating, there should be a unique input assigned to it. Will there be any duplication in your ID of your product? No. So I'm giving the first most input is going to be your primary key. Next, you have the name of your product, what product you are purchasing it. Now, since I have told a dress, you came up with some answer, but generally speaking, you're creating a product and it can be of any product. So you should be aware of which product you are purchasing it. So I have given name and the price, obviously. So this is more than sufficient. Now, I was telling that these are my entities and the class which has these entities will be called as entity class. How will you inform them? With the help of annotation. What is this annotation? So annotation, maybe I'll first get the permission. Whenever you wanted to use annotation, use the @ symbol and give the name for your annotation. So which is @ entity over here. Now, you have to get the permission. How do you get this permission? We added some dependencies, right? Inside the dependency only, this annotation will be available. So if you do not add the dependency, this suggestion you will not get. So I'll say import entity, which is under Jakarta.persistence. For some of you, you may have Java X.persistent, but some of you will get Jakarta.persistent. So depending on the version of installation, it will be varied. So this is done. So this is annotation. Now, what is an annotation if you ask me? Okay. So annotation is a indication that what are we trying to do. If you would have seen when I generated toString method, you would have seen @override. Everyone have seen that, right? Which is @override. Yes, no? Yes. So what is this @override? I'm trying to override the toString available method with my required entities. So when I write @override, there is an overridden operation happening. So it's a shortcut or an indication for us. I'll give some enough resources for you to know more about it. So in your once you have created your entity class, create your entities, then mention that this is your entity class, followed with create the constructors. So constructor of no argument and constructor of arguments. It is done. Next, since it is your private accessible variables, please do generate getters and setters. Getters and setters. Now it is done. So finally, you have to generate toString method also. Now, the next most important thing is, so I believe every one of you would have noticed about primary key enabling in your MySQL workbench table. How many of you noticed that? Okay. Others? Okay, today I'll show you at the time of table creation. So whenever you have certain columns in your table, out of that, you will be selecting one option saying that this is your primary key. Okay, so how do you inform the same in your Spring Tool suite is, you have to go to the getter of that particular primary key and you have to write the annotation which is @ID. It is always @ID. Okay, and get the permission. I repeat, not just because I have given ID here, I'm giving @ID. It is a wrong understanding. Always it is @ID. And here comes the end of your entity class. So I'll do a small recap. Please make note if you want. So in your entity class, step number 1, create your entities. Step number 2, give the annotation @entity to the class and generate constructor of no argument and argument, then generate getters and setters, then give @ID to the getter of your primary, then give toString method. Is that clear? People are clear with your entity class? Raise up your hand. Only 3. Others? Okay. Now the next thing is, now I have told that this is your controller class. How do you inform? You give another annotation. You say @REST controller. Okay. And you get the permission, which is under Spring Framework annotation. Since it is a controller and we are going to work on REST API. What is REST API is nothing but it's an extension which we'll be using, works on the concept of REST API, and we are going to do the back end of your web application. Okay. Now the next thing is product service. So you have to tell this is your service class. So you should write @service. Okay, and here we are going to perform the CRUD operation. I mean the request for CRUD will be given here. So I write transactional over here. And I will get the permission. Okay, this is done. And secondly, this is your interface, which is product repository. Now, I was keep on telling you that we are going to do CRUD demonstration, CRUD operation. So, for each and every operation, there are some predefined methods available. And where is that methods available? Inside an interface called JPA repository. I want all those methods to be accessed by product repository also. So I will say product repository will be extending the JPA repository. And where am I going to perform CRUD operation, or using which entities I'm going to perform? The product entity. So I'm giving the entity class name. And with the help of what? With the primary key, which is integer. I give that. Okay. And I get the permission of JPA repository interface. Is that clear till now? People are clear with this? Raise up your hand. Okay, done. Now the next thing is, now we have completed 50% of your project. Okay. What we have inside your package, you have a main class followed with we created 4.java files. Out of that, the first one was product.java, which we have completely given. The last one was product repository. That's it. You do not write anything. You just tell this repository is going to extend all the properties and behaviors from the JPA repository. That's it. And this B70 product model application is your public static void main class. You should never disturb anything over here. That is the advantage which we get over here. So what we learned in Java, for each and everything accessing, you create an object, you call it with object reference and work on. You initialize your values, everything, manual implementation, which is consuming more and more time of developers, which is not an effective approach. So developers should concentrate more into the logic implementation to enhance the performance of the application, rather than they should not sit and work on with a very basic requirement, which is structure requirement. Okay, so that is why it is predefined. You should not disturb anything. Now here, the class name was B70 product model application, because I did a copy paste. Now right now your project was B66 and 73. Okay. So since we did a copy, this is the issue happening. But for every one of you, what will be the cases? See here, when I tried disturbing, it showed me an error, right? But the basic thing is, you will get your public static void main class with the project name followed with the term called application. Okay, so every one of you, when you create, you will notice that. Now there are totally 5 classes open, out of which the first one was completed. The last 2 things were completed. We are left out with only with controller class and service class. We are going to write the implementation in both. By the end of that, your project is ready. Okay, now here, when I wanted to do retrieve, when I wanted to do a CRUD operation, I told for each and everything, you have a equivalent method. So first we will start with retrieve all operation. When I say CRUD create retrieve can happen all the inputs to be retrieved, or you retrieve with respect to one specific requirement. I can ask all the student information, or I can ask for one student information alone. So we will see both the examples. Whenever you wanted to do a retrieval, I will create a user defined method saying list all. And whenever it's a retrieval process, you get back something. So the return type will be list. What is this list? It is one of your interface in your collection framework. Everyone remember that, right? Yes, so I'm giving list over here. Next, whenever I give this diamond bracket, what does it mean?
Generic.
Generic. So I'm going to give the generic type of this particular method. I'm going to tell that this is going to give me a product information, all the product information. So I will say the generic is product. Is that clear? Yes, just give me a minute. Okay, let's continue. So now I have told that I am creating an user-defined method which is list all, which will give me back a list of output of product. So that is what I have written. I'll get the permission for the list from here java.util package. Now here, since I have told that this method will return a statement, I'll say return. It is going to return what? It is going to return the list of product, and to perform that operation you have an equivalent method. Where is it available? It is available inside JPA repository. Internally, since I have extended, you have it inside product repository. Correct? So how do you fetch it out? So first you have to establish the internally the connection. I want this controller to be connected to service to be connected to repository, so that I can fetch or interact across the classes, whichever it is connecting. So how do you establish the connection? I will say private service. I want controller to be connected to service. So private product service and service over here. And I will say at the rate auto wired. So here I'll import it. So what does it mean? I want my product controller to be automatically wired with product service. Okay. Next, I want my service to be connected to repository. So I will say a product repository. This. Okay. So I'll say private product repository repo. And I'll say at the rate auto wired, and I'll get the permission. Now, when I wanted to fetch the method inside my JPA repository, which was extended to product repository, I can extend it, or I can call it or invoke it with the object reference. I can say repo dot find all. Yeah, find all. So this method will retrieve and give me all the product information available in the database. Is that clear for everyone? People who have any doubts, please do ask me then and there, because this is new for you. I can understand. But you have to let me know that you're unclear, only then I can help you. I've got answer from only Manish. What about others? Okay, Neha says clear. Manvita, Rakshat. Okay. Okay, great. I could see some more responses. Deepak, one more time. Yes, I wanted you to tell me where you are unclear. That is what I'm telling you, because if I repeat from the beginning, it is out of no use. Tell me what is your doubt.
From the product service. From that,
Tell me the line number.
11.
Okay,
Sorry, 14.
14. Okay, so whenever you want one of your class to be connected with your other class, now tell me, I'm telling that your CRUD method is inside JPA repository. When I say product repository extends JPA repository, it is a concept of inheritance. I can say product repository gets the properties and behaviors of JPA repository. Means the CRUD methods will be inside product repository itself. That is the internal understanding of Java. Now, if I wanted to call the find all method, which is the method inside your product repository, if it is a non-static method, how will I call? Only by creating object. With the object reference, I can call. Yes or no?
Yes.
So that is why I'm creating a reference over here. And with that reference, I'm calling the method. And how do I connect it if you ask me? That will be taken care by this annotation, which is @autowire. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now this is one part of your code only, that is one side of your code, which is service. Now, if I am the client, okay, you are the one who developed the application. Now, if I come and ask you, can you retrieve me and give all the product details, then you perform the operation and give me. Now, similarly, operation performance is happening here. But who will ask the request? Where will be the request asked? It will be asked in the controller class only. So here you have to write the code for your request asking. So here I'll create a user defined method. Okay, so I'll say list all, same method name, and here also I will tell this is going to give me a list of output which is of product type. Okay, and I get the permission. Now, which method? Okay, this is return. So I'll give return. Now tell me, this method, I mean the find all method retrieves all information. But this find all method is inside list all. Only if I call list all, this find all will start working. Only if I call the method, the respective method's implementation will work, correct? Yes or no? So to make it very simple, now if I wanted to print hello world in my output, okay, only if I call this list all method, hello world will be printed in my output. Yes or no? Yes. Now I want whatever is kept inside this curly braces, if I want it to be worked, I want to call the method name. Similarly, I wanted to call the method name over here. Now tell me, is this a static method or a non-static method? Static or a non-static method?
Non-static.
Non-static method. How do you call your non-static method? You call it with your object reference. So here, yes, object reference. Now here you have this list all method inside your product service. So this service with this respective service reference, we will call the respective method. You may ask me, ma'am, this is not pointing to object, right? everything will be taken care by auto-wired. See here, marks a constructor, field, setter method or config method has to be auto-wired. So everything will be taken care by this single annotation. You need not worry about it at all. When does the constructor works? When the object is created. So it is an internal working. So now this is done. Now here, how do this controller class knows that I am asking retrieve all? For that, again, we have an annotation which is at the rate get mapping. Okay. And you have to give a mapping message which is products. And over here, you will get the permission. Okay. So this is about retrieve all. People who are clear, please do raise up your hands. Okay, now this is for, okay, I could see only 9 of you have raised up your hands, others. Okay, now moving on, this is for retrieve all operation. Now, in case if you wanted to go with retrieve by ID, what do? So here, I will create one more user defined method. I will say retrieve by ID. So for that, I'll create one user defined method which is public. Again, this is going to give me a return statement. What type of output I get? I get product type of output. I will say get as my method name. And this retrieval will happen with respect to what? The ID which I give. So I'll say integer ID. And it will be returning me the method repo dot find by ID. After that, you get that information. You find the ID and get the information. This is here predefined methods. Now, the request should be sent to the controller. So coming here, you write your logic for retrieve by ID. So for that, okay, for that I'll create a user defined method which is public get. And what is the return type? It is product type, but just give me a minute. Okay, let's continue. So I believe every one of you would have seen this error code 404 in your browser. 404 not found, 500 internal server error. Have you seen that? Yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
all this is the status code of your HTTP and HTTPS. Okay. Now, as I told, we are going to work on with the web application. Here also, we have to get the status in the same way. Where does the status codes are located? It is inside a class called response entity. You get a response on the request of entity. So you'll get the permission. So this will give your input, the response depending on the product input. And since it is retrieved by ID, you have to give the argument which is integer ID. Done. And here you have to give one more annotation which is at the rate path variable. Okay. What is this annotation? It has to look for the path for the respective variable mentioned and give back the output. Okay. Now here, since it is a return and since the return is of class type, see here, extension of HTTP entity that adds the HTTP status code. When you go for the status code, you will get all the status inside it. Okay, I'll show you what all the status you have in your REST API. Now here, since the return is of class type, you will be returning a new object of this particular response entity. Okay, and which will have the output of product type. But what will be returned as your output? That is very, very important. So here you have to call the method which does the retrieve by ID, service dot. What is the method which retrieves by ID? Which is get. So service dot get method, which will have the ID. And I want the result to be stored. So I'll say product local variable of the product, because I get back the product details of the mentioned ID. Now this will be returned or stored inside my object. And along with that, I will get the status of OK. I'll say HTTP status, which is OK. Is that clear what I have written? Yes, no? Yes. Now, tell me, is there any chances I try retrieving an ID which is not available in the database or not available in the market? Is that possible or not? No? Okay. So whenever we go for an online purchase and you look for a product in the particular application, will you always get that product or will you get out of stock?
Out of stock.
Out of stock is indirectly meaning the product is not available, right? There are chances the product is available, product is not available. Yes or no now?
Yes.
Yes. So how do you handle it? In case if the product is available, it's a successful purchase. In case if the product is not available, then you should handle it with a message out of stock or some other reasons according to the application. So here, how do you handle it? With the exception handling concept. I will select this and surround it with try and catch block. If the product is available, you get your result. If the product is not available, again you get a result. Since the return is of class type, you create a new object. Instead of sending the product information, you say the status is not found, which is something like you're out of stock. Are you clear? Why are we going with try and catch like this? If you are clear till now, please do let me know, because if you are not understanding, the upcoming one will be a difficult. Only 2 hands are raised up.